Let me talk to you about this superfood of the spiritual life. I don't often ask for a lot of feedback because I don't ever give feedback when I'm listening to somebody preach, and preachers sometimes will say, "Hey, turn to your neighbor and say whatever." I always just bow my head at that time because it's like I don't know the person I'm sitting beside of. But let me ask you for a little bit of feedback. What do you believe to be physically a superfood? Just call it out. Kale? I was afraid of that. What else? Blueberries? Burritos? Hey, that's my answer. What is? Red beets. Yeah, I've certainly heard of that, right? Fried chicken? Yeah, now you go. Cranberries? Coffee? Yeah, that's right. Right. Yeah. So just to be clear, biscuits and gravy aren't a superfood. Is that right? Yeah. I was hoping somebody, but hey, I'll take burritos and fried chicken. So anyway, so you get the idea. This is supposed to be a food that you take, and can you take too much of it? Probably not. You might not be able to stomach too much of it, but certainly blueberries I could eat those all day long. Beets I'm not so sure. If they are, I don't know, fried in brown sugar or something. I don't know if it ceases to be a superfood after that, right? But I think spiritually there are some things that you can't overdose on. You can't have too much of. And you'll see a few of them even in the few verses that I'm going to read with you. But there's one in particular that I would love for you to just say, because as soon as I say it, you're going to say, well, yes, of course. But don't dismiss it so fast that you just assume that I've got enough of that and I'm practicing enough of that. But I really do I'm praying that there be a revival in this. So Philippians chapter 4 and verse 6, and just a couple of verses I want to share with you, and then the sort of the anti superfood to it. But it says this, and I think it ties in beautiful with our last series about anxiety. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything, so there's everything, by everything, prayer and supplication, so that's a superfood, prayer, can't have enough of it, can't overdose on it. By everything, prayer and supplication with thanksgiving. That's the superfood. Thanksgiving and gratitude. Whether it is to the Lord or to others, and I sort of want to divide the sermon this morning like that. Talk about to the Lord and to others. But this idea of showing gratitude, and it's interesting that it often is mixed in with prayer, because prayer is that time where we're coming to the Lord and saying, Lord, I need, and he's got no problem with that. I need, and I need. I prayed this morning, Lord, we are a needy people. We come to you with needs. He is not limited. He is never undersourced. And so he has no problem with you saying, Lord, I need, because he has, and he has plenty. But when you say, Lord, I need, and I need, and I need, sometimes it can cause you to forget what you do have and the things that you do have. And so this is why he says, when you pray, bring all those supplications to me. But it's also good to balance it with, but I thank you for what I do have. I thank you for what you have done. Lord, I'm asking for this, but I also want to make sure that you understand I am thankful for this. That's the way I ended up my prayer time last night. Lord, I know that I gripe sometimes, and I complain to you, and I bring my request to you. But Lord, I just want you to know that I do recognize, and I tried to list a whole bunch of blessings that I could just think off at the top of my head. Lord, I'm thankful for this, and I'm thankful for that. That, dear friend, is a superfood for your own spirit. The gratitude that you show to the Lord and the gratitude that we show to each other. 1 Thessalonians says it this way in chapter 5 and verse 16 through 18. Rejoice always. So there's a superfood. Rejoice always. Rejoice always. Pray without ceasing. Now look, notice this. In all situations, give thanks. Dear friend, it doesn't say for all situations. In all situations. Because there are some situations that would be hard for me to be thankful for. When you're standing over the bed of a dying loved one, especially if they're young, for me to say, Lord, I just thank you for this, he's not saying that. But you could find something even in those moments. We got heart-aching news this week. And all I could say, and I just texted it out, all I could say was, thank God for heaven. I wasn't thankful for the news that I had just received, but I am thankful that I am going to see that one. And so, Lord, just thank you for heaven. There's something that you can be thankful for in all situations. In all situations, give thanks. Look at this. For this is the will of God. This, dear friend, is an absolute superfood. You can add it to anything, and it should be added to everything. And so you want to mix gratitude because it diffuses so many things. It will dilute stuff that you don't want festering and growing in your heart. And so be a thankful gratitude to the Lord. And then I would say equally important is gratitude toward each other. And you say, well, how could that be equally important to our Heavenly Father? Because I, as a father, I appreciate when my kids would say something of gratitude toward me. But you know what warms my heart probably even more is when they show appreciation to each other. When they love on each other, my heart is absolutely filled. When they're kind to one another or say something, even if they are ragging on one another in love, it just fills my heart. And so I know when I lift my hands and I thank the Lord for things, and I show gratitude to Him for things, yes, that is praise unto Him. But we can also do it toward one another, and that also honors Him. He loves that. Gratitude. Just some statements about it. It is always needed, never overused. You just can't. It's like one of those ingredients that let's just say we're fixing something, baking something, whether it's whatever ingredient it is, and you think, oh, I don't know if that's enough, and should I put in more? You can't overuse this. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about I think I might be too grateful. You can't be too grateful. Just think about that. Think about what that does to your heart. It will help you stay humble and thoughtful. Because if I want to express gratitude toward each other, I kind of have to think about you for a minute, right? If I want to say, hey, I'm going to come up with something that I can show gratitude toward my wife or to my spouse or to my kids or to somebody that I work with, I got to think about that person, which causes me not to be able to think about me, which is usually a pretty good idea. And so it keeps us thoughtful. And the fact that I'm expressing gratitude causes me to be humble. It helps me to stay humble because I'm recognizing I'm not self-made. I'm not just, I got nobody to thank. I got here on my own. No, you didn't. And even if it's not somebody directly around you, think a serviceman or woman. Think somebody. Because the blessings that you have received in your life isn't all because of you, dear friend. I know I'm standing here right now probably still being residually blessed because of my mother. And so there's always somebody else to be able to say, hey, I want to thank you for what you've done, for what you did, for how you invested into my life. Or it's just also just paying attention, and maybe it's not toward you. Maybe you want to thank somebody for the service or for the ministry that they're in that doesn't necessarily affect you, but you recognize that they've worked at it and they're serving and they got a good heart and they're not doing it for attention or for status. And so this idea of showing gratitude and appreciation to others will help you yourself to stay humble. It keeps you upright when your life starts to tilt downward. When things start to turn and the bad news comes, if you're not careful, if you focus only on that, you can spiral down. But if you recognize that, not stick our head in the sand and not try to ignore, not try to say, no, this isn't bad, this thing's not good. This is bad. However, I got this over here. God, I thank you for this. And Lord, I do recognize this. You see what that's doing? That's starting to counterbalance this heavy-weighted thing that in the moment it hurts your heart and you're not for sure why and you got some questions and I don't know why. But if that's all you focus on, your life will tilt and before you know it, you're spiraling. But if you balance it out with, yes, this hurts. I don't like this and Lord, I want this to change. However, at the same time, Lord, I do recognize this. It may be something simple. It may be something a little more philosophical, but counterbalance it because it will help you to buoy upright when life and the storms come and it's wanting to tip the whole thing over. Gratitude doesn't allow negative or cynical thoughts to take deep root. I didn't say it doesn't allow cynical thoughts or negative thoughts, but if you practice a heart of gratitude, it'll be hard for cynicism or negative thoughts to take deep root in your life. It's just one of those things. It's just like a fresh shower. You know, it's like, yeah, I overworked, I'm dirty, I stink, and what I need a fresh shower. That's like expressing gratitude. Because if you don't express gratitude, then it is easier to be negative and cynical toward others, toward life. Nothing's right, nothing works, nothing's good. And before you know it, it's just a critical tongue. But it's so hard to mix a critical tongue with a thanksgiving tongue. It's hard. And especially toward other people. And it will lift other people up. Even other folks who struggle with anxiety. My uncle, Billy gave me this morning, a passage that he jotted down this week, and I stole it from him. I said, I want to share this because I think it just goes along so well with the message. Proverbs 12:25, it says, anxiety weighs down the heart, but a kind word cheers it up. That means like anxiety is not all on you. We can help each other with that. A kind word, a helpful word. It will help one another. It keeps you from being too critical about people. It's hard to appreciate and criticize the same person, right? You just rarely do it. It's hard to pray for somebody and be critical toward that person at the same time. You know why? Because it's counterproductive to your own prayer. Lord, I want you to bless this person. And in the same breath, did you hear about that person? I want to talk about that person. I only got something negative about that person. But Lord, I want you to bless this person. It's like, Lord, make your mind up. You want to bless them or you want to curse them? It's hard to do both. So when we show appreciation for one another, it's hard to be critical of that person. This past week, maybe last week, not for sure. It had to be last week. I was out of town this week, but you'll get old one day. I was at a meeting. I sat on a couple of boards here in town, a couple of paraministry boards. There's one guy that I'm such a fan of this fellow. He's a minister. not a pastor. He's got more sense than that. So he's not a head pastor, not a lead pastor, but he works at a church. And he's just all the time volunteering for anything and everything. And he's just a servant's heart. I don't know how he does it. Just don't know how he does it. And we were at the meeting, and they were asking him if he could do some other things. And because he had done other things in the past, and you could just tell, he was just like, yeah, I can do that. I can do that. And I could just tell like this, he had something else going on in his life, and yet at the same time, they were asking him because he had done it. And so but I just sat way across the room from him, but I could just tell on his face like he's carrying some stuff. And on the way out, I'd already got in my car, and he was outside about to go back inside the building, and I pulled up, rolled down the window, and hollered his name. And he came over, and I said, I just want to say I appreciate you so much. You got such a servant's heart. I don't know how this ministry would go without you. And he's a man's man, but he you could see he was like tearing up. He reached like through the window, almost like he wanted to hug me, but like we got the car in between us, and he just reached out and he said, I love you, and just shook my hand, and it started to cause me to tear up. And it's like, I'm not crying, you're crying. And so I just okay, wanted to go, and started to roll the window up. Just and think about like the effort. Think about the little effort and energy that took for me just to say, I see you, I thank God for you, and I appreciate you for what you're doing. And dear friend, I'm not trying to fish for compliments. Hear me this morning. I get plenty folks email or text or say wonderful, kind things to me often. It's one of the fringe benefits of what where the Lord has me. And so please don't think that I'm fishing, but what I am saying to one another, the appreciation you can show for one another, the kind word, and how it can lift somebody else up. And especially when it's somebody you struggle with. Try to be thankful for them. And hear me, if you can't say it to them, at least say it to the Lord. Lord, I thank you for that person. And see what that might do for your own heart. And then ask the Lord, give me the strength to say it to that person. The next one is, and I love this, Satan hates it. Satan hates for you to show gratitude. He hates it, whether it's to the Lord or to others. And I just like to do anything Satan hates. There's been stages and phases and still things in my life that I know I do that Satan enjoys. He loves to hear me gripe. He loves to hear me complain. He loves to hear me gossip. And so I want to try to find those things that I know he hates. And he hates, because he has not an ounce of it. Satan is pure evil. And the fact that you show empathy, sympathy, or appreciation for somebody else, he hates that. And so let me just say, whenever you feel spiritually attacked, and you would say to yourself, Randall, I think I'm in the midst of some spiritual warfare. You know one thing you can do, among others, one thing you could do, you say, all right, I'm going to go out and show some appreciation to folks. I'm going to speak life to some people. Satan, you want to come at me like that? I'm going to go and I'm going to be a blessing. I'm going to show appreciation. I'm going to pay attention to others and the goodness that they bring into the world, the goodness that they speak into the world. And I'm going to make sure that they know that I know that God is using them in that moment. If I were the devil, I'd back off of you. Because then what he is trying to get accomplished is beginning to backfire. And so anytime you feel under attack by the enemy, yes, pray. Have other folks to pray for you. But one of the things you can do to offset that is just show gratitude. Gratitude toward others and gratitude toward the Lord. Look at this passage with me in 2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 5. Paul tells Timothy under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit that in the last days, here's what you're going to see around the world. Now I want you to notice, which I've underlined it for us so it's not hard to pick out. But notice this, I don't know, 15 or 16 things here. He says, here's what we can kind of expect as the world gets worse. But I believe that the Lord's Spirit moves more even in this day and time. But understand this, that in the last days there'll come times of difficulty. For people will be lovers of self, lovers of money, proud, arrogant, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, no gratitude, ungrateful, unholy, heartless, unappeasable, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not loving God, treacherous, reckless, swollen with conceit, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having the appearance of godliness, but denying its power. Avoid such people, Paul tells Timothy, and through the inspiration would be telling us as well. Now, I'm going to read it again, and this is what I want you to do. I'll read it slow, but ask yourself, how would gratitude diffuse or counteract against these things? Let me read it again. But understand this, that in the last days, think of gratitude. There will come times of difficulty, for people will be lovers of self. Gratitude is what? When I get my eyes on somebody else and what they've done. Lovers of money, proud, arrogant. Would gratitude counterbalance that or diffuse that somewhat? Abusive, disobedient to parents. Hard to be disobedient and appreciative of your parents. Unholy, heartless, unappeasable, slanderous, without self-control, brutal. I'm not reading slow, Emma. Not loving good, treacherous, reckless, swollen with conceit, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having the appearance of godliness but denying its power. Dear friend, there is great power in gratitude. When we lift our hands to the Lord and when we express our appreciation to each other. I don't know, but gratitude might just affect every one of those things. So it is absolutely a superfood. Because if it can counterbalance all of those things, well, I mean, like you need to make sure you got a big bottle of it and that you're taking plenty of it every day to express our gratitude. It blesses the blesser and the blessed. When we're grateful, when we show gratitude to the Lord and to others, it's a win-win for both. It's going to fill your heart. When I express my gratitude to my friend there at that meeting, I walked away thinking, thank you for saying what, because that's just typically like not me. But I just wanted to express my appreciation to him. I was thinking, Lord, he's going to think I'm corny. He's going to think I'm weird. I'm not this guy. I don't do this, but I did anyway. And so I drove away blessed, and I know he seemed to feel blessed just by words, just words. It didn't cost me a thing. And I mean, just flapping my jaws and moving my tongue. And the words that I spoke seemed to lift his spirit. It just doesn't take much. A kind word, a thankful heart. It blesses both parties involved. Gratitude, an absolute superfood. Let this week of Thanksgiving, let this season, let it be a reminder that you may not have a lot to give toward each other. But man, a grateful heart and expressing that gratitude to God and to others, what an absolute difference it can make. And the enemy hates it, and it just absolutely feels the heart of your Heavenly Father. Would you bow your heads with me, please, for just a moment? Let me pray.